Hi Obi, and I just thought we'd have a chat today. We're coming into Christmas and New Year, which is a really difficult time for many people struggling with mental health and addiction. Not just the person that's struggling with the mental health and the addiction, but also for the families. And I guess really maybe we could just talk a little bit about how and what people can use for help during this period of time, and what's available, and what are the sort of things that people can look out for.
Yeah, why not? This for a lot of people, this is one of the most testing times, especially people with substance or alcohol dependence issues. You know, there's added pressure that people experience when they come to this time of the year. So it's always helpful to review what kind of strategies people could implement to help manage through this process. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, over the years, I won't say there's a particular trend to the treatment provision, because on the one hand, there are some people that want to come in just pre-Christmas so that they go into the new year clean, but then you have the other end of the spectrum where people think, okay, I'm going to have a blast over Christmas and then I'll come into treatment in the new year. But either way, whatever way you look at it, it's a bit of a testing time for a lot of people, because there are a lot of parties, there's a lot of alcohol use, you know, there are more people out there celebrating, and that in of itself can create its own added stresses on the individual families and communities, like you said.
Yeah, I guess maybe for people that are or have been in treatment and maybe have got maybe just sort of still fairly early in their recovery, this time of year can be particularly difficult. And I'm just wondering, you know, what would you say from your experience are some of the things that are helpful for those people that are going to likely have to sort of contend with some more pressure given the holiday season. The general view for a lot of people is that this is a time where they drink and party, and families get together, and often they end up arguing as well, or it gets very sort of pressured. So what would be some of the things that you would say for someone that maybe is in just sort of in their early recovery, maybe 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, it can be quite a testing time?
I mean, that's quite an interesting question, and it's one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily explore before they get to this point. Most importantly, I think one of the first things I would suggest to anybody I'm working with is do a risk assessment. You know, hopefully people have enough of a clean time for them to experience Christmas many more times with family members and significant others. But most importantly, the first thing is, do I have to be there? If it's an environment where you know it's going to be prevalent with people drinking or using, ask yourself the question, do I have to be there?
Yeah.
Okay, and if I have to be there, what are the risks? I have to assess what the risks might be. What's the likelihood that I might find myself overwhelmed? I might find myself with a drink in my hand. I might find myself feeling uncomfortable, not knowing how to say no. So first of all, assess the risk. In so doing, you can then decide, okay, if I have to go, because it's a family occasion, what do I do when I get there? What do I say to people? How prepared am I for when somebody offers me a drink? Because as you well know already, some of our clients try to keep it secret, try to keep it quiet, especially here in India, where there's a stigma around not just substance use itself, but people going into treatment.
Yep.
You know, so there's always still a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of guilt around this stuff. So, okay, how prepared are you for when somebody tries to offer you a drink, or somebody asks you where you've been for quite some time? Now, some people are comfortable saying, I'm in recovery for substance use or for problematic drinking. Other people are not. So what do you say? Now, if you're going to go into that kind of environment, what happens to you if they want to do a toast and somebody shoves a drink right in front of your face? What do you do? Okay. Also, if it gets overwhelming, what do you do? So there are a number of things the questions, and each question leads you to another question. So I would say from the beginning, first of all, if possible, have a sober companion, have somebody who's going to go there with you for company, because you don't want to be finding yourself in the midst of 4, 5, 6 people, everybody with a drink in their hand, and you're stood on your own. Whereas if you've got somebody who, like yourself, doesn't drink, you could both have, I don't know, a colourless liquid, either a Sprite or any colourless drink like that, or even a colourful drink, and you hold it in your hand. If possible, make yourself the designated driver, so you have a ready-made answer that, actually, I can't drink because I'm driving. Some people turn around and say, I'm on very strong medication. For those who are more comfortable, they might turn around and say something like, I don't have that brilliant a relationship with alcohol, or I'm doing a dry December. Just to...
Or simply, I don't drink.
Oh, simply, I don't drink, yeah. And I think with political correctness of these days, nobody kind of tries to force the drink down your throat.
Yeah.
Now, but another important factor is, it's always helpful that you don't put your drink down. Because innocently, somebody might just think they're topping up your glass with a substance, not realizing that you're not drinking. So it's always useful that you hold onto your drink, or if you've got a bottle of whatever it is you're drinking, have a cap on it, so that you don't leave it aside and mistakenly find yourself doing this. But as I said earlier on, if you find yourself that you're feeling overwhelmed, it's also okay to make an excuse and leave, because as you said when we started this our conversation, Christmas is the time when, for those who do drink, sometimes people drink a bit too much on those days, and that's when the discord that might exist within a family comes out.
Yeah, I guess like one of the things that sort of is noticeable and probably worth sort of reiterating for people is having that exit strategy if it's all a little bit too much, and it can be quite overwhelming, can't it? And I think that side of things is very difficult. On the other end of the spectrum, there are those people that are going to spend the holiday season alone, and that also comes with a significant amount of issues for someone, because being on your own during a holiday season, I think, is equally as problematic as being surrounded by people. It comes with maybe some different challenges, but what would you say? I mean, I know from us as a service, and we get asked this all the time, is that, well, do you close down for Christmas? Or do you close down for the holiday season? I mean, we're talking about Christmas and New Year. We're open 365 days of the year, so it doesn't really make any difference. We're also, we're available 24 hours of the day as well, so we will take phone calls at different times for people if they really do need to access treatment. From that side of things, yes, we're available for the residential side. We also have our outpatient clinic also in Mumbai, which offers one-to-one individual counselling and group counselling in intensive outpatient. So there is that thing. But what are some of the other things? I'm assuming you're going to recommend, say, things like meetings and stuff like that. Maybe you just want to explain to what's available for people.
Yes, I mean, look, there's that school of thought that says the antidote to addiction is connection.
Yes.
So one of the things that we always suggest to people is to have, every client that leaves us, as you well know, has a recovery plan, and a big element of that recovery plan is the sober support network. Certainly in the UK, I know this period of time in the year, all of the mutual aid groups, all the self-help groups have occasions where all people in recovery come together and they spend time together. So one of the things we always suggest to people here is, in those times, try not to isolate, try not to find yourself all alone, because loneliness is another contributing factor to a lot of people feeling the need to want to ingest a substance. So the idea is, plan ahead. There are probably going to be other like-minded people who might find themselves at times over the festive period, for whatever reason, not wanting to go to, especially in early recovery, go where there are people drinking. For those who are not consuming a substance or alcohol, they can plan to meet up together. But as you so rightly said, mutual aid groups, there are meetings, and one of the things that, I mean, if there's any such thing as a benefit of COVID, is online meetings took off. You know, there are online meetings everywhere. So if one finds themselves in a situation whereby they try to get hold of people, they can't get hold of anyone, it's okay to go online and get a meeting. I mean, the good thing about the online meetings is you can go to a meeting in Russia, you can go to a meeting in America, you can go to a meeting in the UK. You know, there are meetings 24 hours of the day, round the clock. So the idea generally is to have enough of a cyber support network of people that you can pick up the phone and call and, you know, hang out together, spend time together, you know, just shooting the breeze, not necessarily doing anything overwhelming, but just spending time with people. You know, a big part of the recovery community of people is getting together and leading and supporting one another through testing times.
I guess just for clarity, for those that aren't so sure, that might be sort of thinking, well, what goes on at Christmas? When we talk about meetings, there's a variety, isn't there, Obi? I mean, we have the 12-step meetings, which are your well-known things like Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous.
The 12-step of Anonymous.
The 12-step groups. But there are some other recovery-orientated groups like Smart Recovery, Dharma Recovery, Refuge Recovery, that are all online as well. We're not so blessed with the range in India as we are overseas, but as you say, in terms of what is available now online, people do have that option.
Yes, and this is what I meant when I said that the one thing that, if there's any good thing that came out of the lockdown, is that a lot of these meetings went online, and even subsequent to the lockdown, they've stayed online. So some of those other mutual aid groups that you spoke about, although they might not have physical meetings in India, you know, they're online, you know, and people are able to join. Even people with mental health disorders, you know, they're able to find meetings. I remember there was a client I worked with who had some mental health disorder, you know, and she didn't realize that there were support groups for people with hepatology. And, you know, we both sat down together and we found a meeting, albeit that there's a time difference because it's in the States at 5 o'clock in the morning. But one of the things she said was, you know what, I didn't realize there was other people like myself, and I'm pleased that I didn't feel so alone. You know, so there's a lot of strength in meeting up with other people, albeit virtually, you know, at those times, festive time, because when you look around, you put the TV on, you go outside the street, you see groups of people sat down in restaurants, in bars, all spending time together, but most of the time there's alcohol or whatever other substance involved. The idea is for you to recognize that, look, you can have fun in recovery, you can have a festive occasion without there being alcohol or the need for ingesting alcohol.
I mean, one of the things that I've often heard is, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is that, you know, sometimes people say, well, I'm not going to come to, I'm going to wait until the new year to come into rehab, and sometimes things really do escalate, and they do have a tendency to get a little bit messy. And I sort of recall back sort of my days working in crisis intervention, and I can remember really specifically being on duty on a Christmas Eve, and you know, normally sort of on a regular night we'd be sort of getting a number of calls. We'd be liaising with A&E, etc. And it was deathly quiet. I think I can remember sort of Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day. I probably had sort of, from my shift that I was doing that particular night, I think I had about 4 or 5 calls where people called in and sort of basically wished me a Merry Christmas, and that was about it. And I had the Christmas Day off, and I came back into work on the Boxing Day, and on the 26th, you know, and I came in, I was on a 5 o'clock, I remember coming in, I was on a 5 o'clock start shift. We were asked to come in. I don't think I stopped from 5 o'clock that afternoon right through till till 8 o'clock the next morning with, you know, interventions, because things didn't go that well. And for people coming into rehab, what's rehab like at Christmas? I mean, I mean, I've worked Christmas days in rehab. I've also worked Christmas days in psychiatric hospitals. I mean, what's your experience?
All right. Before I answer that, let me just go back a bit. You know, my experience for a lot of people, you know, even for those that might decide, you know what, I'm going to do this after with the new year because I want to be able to enjoy my Christmas. My experience has always been that even for those people, the willingness to come into treatment is not so much engineered based on what they wanted. It's as a result of an event that probably took place over Christmas. You know, for most of our clients, you can see when we ask them, what was your last Christmas like? They either can't remember it, or some unhelpful situation happened that was a catalyst for them, you know, being kicked out of the house or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So, back to your question. Christmas, as much as possible, and not just Christmas, and I need to say this especially for India, because India has quite a lot of festivals, you know. As much as possible, we try to create a family atmosphere in Christmas, because essentially the facility here is a home away from home for our clients, you know. So whatever their religious affiliations are, whatever background they come from, as much as possible, all necessary or all religious occasions, we try to celebrate them. So Christmas here, Christmas Day, we normally do it just with the clients and the staff, and we all, you know, lots of food, you know, people just lounging around, having a bit of an off day, but spending time together with other people, you know, stuffing faces, chocolates, and our chefs, as you well know, do a really brilliant job with the food and everything.
Yeah.
Well, on about the 27th, we have a family day, you know, where the clients are able to invite family members, their kids, their partners, their parents, and we have like a family day where there's also plenty of food, and people come and they're able to give each other gifts, and they spend a considerable amount of time here in the treatment environment. Part of that process is getting people to recognize that you can still have a family get-together or have a get-together without the need of a substance being part of it. Yeah. And almost every client that goes through that process says, I've never enjoyed myself so much. You know, this is the first time I've really experienced Christmas without there being something to help me lower my inhibitions, you know. So people are able to listen to music, dance, karaoke, spend time with their kids, spend time with their parents, and most importantly, wake up the next day and still remember what happened, and still be able to enjoy themselves as they journal, you know, the day after. So yeah, for myself, I'm not religious, but as much as possible, when I've been at work in Christmas, you know, I've been part of the whole process with the other staff and the clients, and it's just about spending time with them and getting them to recognize that, you know, things can be different, you know. They get to wake up in the morning, they get to spend time with their family members, and as I said, remember it.
And for those that may be sort of even contemplating maybe not necessarily coming into treatment in Christmas, then the New Year is also a great time for people to come in to start the year, you know, in a different version. Yeah, I mean, we tend to see, you know, normally that there's quite a few people sort of start to come in that New Year. It's normally a little bit more busy. People already plan it, or they've had a really tough holiday season and they feel that they may need to address it. And you know, what would you say to people that might be contemplating that life is not so cool at the moment, that you know, I mean, it's not always about how much someone drinks. I think this is something that is a bit misconstrued sometimes. It's like, you know, you have to drink every day or be drinking all day to really go to rehab. Yeah, that idea that it's all about how much you drink.
No, it's about quality of life. It's about, you know, but your question. You know, this whole thing about people doing a New Year resolution. You know, I don't necessarily believe in the concept of resolution, but if you kind of imagine, if you're doing smoking cessation, if you're cigarette smokers, one of the best ways of being, or one of the ways that has been discovered from research that enables people to be able to stop and stay stopped is when you fix a date.
Yep.
You fix a date and say, from this day, I'm no longer going to smoke, and this is what I'm going to do instead. So that day, you get rid of all your cigarettes, get rid of all your implements, lighters, packets of cigarettes, cigarette papers, whatever it might be. It's the same thing with substance use. For those people that say that they're coming in the new year, I mean, for example, we've got a number of people who've already paid deposits. They're looking forward to coming in the new year.
Yeah.
For varying reasons. You know, some people it's because of
Travel,
logistics, availability, time constraints, whatever the reasons might be. But some people have their blast over Christmas and decide, right, new year, new start, I'm going to come in, you know, and I'm going to give myself some time. And it's always a good time to start, because you can start the year afresh and leave the baggage of the past behind in the year you just left behind, you know, and come in and hopefully get yourself to be a better version of yourself for the rest of that year, you know. I mean, for us here especially, there's also some exciting times. We're trying to help people realize that going into the new year, you can start afresh. You know, there's a very robust program. I mean, we just had our alumni activity event the other day, and, you know, we're hoping to do
over 50 people here.
Yes,
it's fantastic. Yeah.
You know, and there's a hope that in June we're going to do the next one. So we want to see a few more people from now right through to the year. You know, depending on when people are. But as I always say, there are windows of opportunity. You know, what have you got to lose?
So just to wrap it up, if you or a loved one are really struggling at the moment, you feel you need some help, give us a call. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. We don't close. Obviously, we can do multiple languages, English, Hindi, Marathi, etc. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here over this holiday season, and from all of us here at Samarpan, we're wishing you a good holiday season and a happy new year.
Yes, Merry Christmas one and all.